Hello there. Welcome to Just the Dis. We talk about Blu-rays here. I'm regretting this already. Let me start by saying that the first time I saw Pink Flamingos, actually it wasn't the first time, but the last time I remembered seeing it was at a movie theater in Madison, Wisconsin during a revival of, they were touring the film again, showing Prince. It was hot. It was the middle of the summer, and it was disgusting in the theater. And I thought, boy, John Waters would have really liked it shown this way. You know, it wasn't like smell-o-vision for polyester, but it was uncomfortable, and the film is, you know, unpleasant. And so I thought, you know, he would have liked it this way. It's kind of as he would have wanted. So you're probably asking yourself, why does he have that bandage on his head? What is going on? I recently, as some may have noticed in some past videos, I had a little something on the back of my head, little skin cancer, and nothing, you know, too bad, but something I had to get dealt with. And so they cut basically a big hole in my head to get it all taken care of. And I thought, you know, okay, I just won't film videos for a while. This just happened like a day or so ago, and the hole is like really big. It's over here. But then I thought, Pink Flamingos showed up, and I was like, well, if ever there was a movie that could benefit from being talked about while I'm in this condition, it's Pink Flamingos. So I thought, again, maybe it's the kind of thing where John Waters would appreciate me talking about his film with a giant hole in my head and bandages looking ridiculous, you know, at my lowest. So I thought, why not? So take it easy on me, folks. But this is the Criterion Blu-ray of Pink Flamingos. And this is one of the most notorious cult films of all time. When I first started learning about cult films, reading about them in Midnight Movies and the Danny Perry books, Pink Flamingos is one of the biggest, you know, midnight movie cult movies, along with like Eraserhead and Rocky Horror Picture Show. It was the big, you know, legendary stuff. A very disgusting film that was just this camp sensation. Was not the first film that John Waters had made, but a film that really cemented his notoriety, you know, and really took off for him after that. Anyway, I love this packaging. I think this packaging is absolutely great. Then we have the inside, and I just love the little filthiest person alive there. I also love that this has got the Warner Brothers logo on the back, and I just couldn't imagine what John Waters would think when he was making it. And it's part of the National Film Registry, which is also crazy and amazing, and I love that. So this film, it is truly unique. It is a film about disgusting people. In fact, it's about two families that are competing to be the filthiest people on the face of the earth, on the planet, or in the world. They just really want, that's their goal, you know? And it's just a very John Waters kind of premise, you know, the idea that you have these two families, one of them led by Divine and the other by Mink Stoll and John Lockery. I'm just going to read from the website. John Waters made bad taste perversely transcendent with forever shocking counterculture sensation Pink Flamingos, his most infamous and daring cinematic transgression. Ultra Diva Divine is iconic as the wanted criminal hiding out with her family of degenerates in a trailer outside Baltimore while reveling in her tabloid notoriety as the filthiest person alive, when a pair of sociopaths, Mink Stoll and David Lockery, with a habit of kidnapping women in order to impregnate them and sell their babies, attempt to challenge her title. Design resolves to show them and the world the true meaning of the word filth. Incest, cannibalism, shrimping, and film history's most legendary gross-out ending, which has to do with dog feces, if you aren't aware of that, and was one of the original ideas for the film, which always stood out to me, is the idea of John Waters turning to Divine and saying, I want to do a movie where this happens. And anyway, Waters and his merry band of Dreamlanders leave no taboo unsmashed in this gleefully subversive ode to outsiderhood, in which camp spectacle and pitch black satire are wielded in an all-out assault on respectability. I couldn't put it any better than that. Yeah, this movie does. They cover a few things that it contains, but I think there's a great conversation between Jim Jarmusch and John Waters on this disc, and he mentions all the stuff that's in the film. I mean, maybe not everything, but I think Waters would have corrected him if he didn't get everything. But he says incest, murder, cannibalism, castration, coprophilia, dismemberment, artificial insemination, simulated chicken sex, and real coprophagia, with Divine eating the dog stuff at the end. It's disgusting, and they the two families really go all out, and you really get a sense of what Waters was going for in this movie, and you can see why it hits sort of a pinnacle of sorts for him. I feel like it's the most, I think for me, the most unpleasant of his films to watch. Maybe that's not true. It's tough. And that's not to say that unpleasant meaning I don't enjoy watching the films, but in terms of like how far he goes with it, it's like, I don't think there's anything too tame about it now. It still plays in a world of camp, but ultimately it's still pretty crazy. And just a movie that is like no other. Like, I'm not going to describe Pink Flamingos to you here because I really think it has to be seen to be believed. It's really one of the original movies I would ever say that about, you know? And it's really something else. Comes with a puke barf bag right there. It's a nice touch. Pink Flamingos barf bag. Very cool. And then a sort of tabloid, journalist style exclusive photos of the filthiest person alive. And then you get sort of I love that it's set up like that, but then you have The Battle of Filth by Howard Hampton. And I love that he starts his essay this way. He says, like Carl Dreyer's The Passion of Joan of Arc or Robert Bresson's The Trial of Joan of Arc, John Waters' Pink Flamingos depicts a visionary's trials, faith, and ultimate sanctification. But the film, which follows the comic quest of Divine, the name of both actor and main character in Waters' icon of beautiful turpitude, turns the concept of transcendence inside out. So it's really great that they start it, and it feels like an old newspaper, but like a tabloid. It's great. I love this. It even like pulls out and everything. So that's wonderful. But I was really excited that this was finally getting the Criterion Blu-ray, because I'm sure some of us remember that Pink Flamingos was a Criterion Laserdisc back in the day, and you get a kind of flashback to that in some of the features here. But I think a lot of the Laserdisc titles have really been forgotten, and that's too bad, because there's a lot of good stuff on Laserdisc that Criterion may never put out on Blu-ray. But that said, I love that this film is now getting its due. And I love this cardboard wrapping. I also love that it's got a new 4K digital restoration supervised and approved by director John Waters, which is pretty fantastic. And then it's got a ton of extra features, which I've sort of gone through and taken note of and was really impressed with. You have 2 commentary tracks. You have the original 1997 Criterion Laserdisc John Waters commentary. And it's really interesting to listen to these, just to skip, go to your player and go from audio track 2 to audio track 3. because you can hear the difference in John Waters' voice. And it's only about 4 years apart, but it's different. You can just tell the difference. There's different tone to his voice. It's interesting because the second track is recorded, I believe, in 2001. So there's 2 commentaries from Waters. And, maybe some of the stuff overlaps, but ultimately you get, 2 takes from him on his film. I think the second one might have been done for the DVD. I'm not sure. So that's part 1. And then you get the full documentary Divine Trash from 1998, which is directed by Steve Yeager, and which features interviews with John Waters' parents, Mick Stoll, Mary Vivian Pierce, Divine, David Lockery, Edith Massey, Vincent Peranio, producer Jim Pearson, actor Steve Buscemi, filmmakers Jim Jarmusch, Herschel Gordon Lewis, Paul Morrissey, the Kuchar brothers, and more. I think it won Best Documentary at Sundance in 98, or they say it got the statue for, I don't know. But it opens with John Waters being filmed as he's filming Divine about to do her big ending of Pink Flamingos, and that has some old interviews with John Waters where he's got the long hair, he's got sunglasses on, he's talking about what underground films are, and I kind of love that stuff, and it just talks about people getting to know John and him growing up and becoming who he is. They talk to his parents, who look like very normal people. And his parents talking about his mom talks about some puppet movie that really influenced him and how he used to do puppet shows. And then some guy comes on and says, yeah, I was part of John's puppet production of The Tingler. And apparently this guy's thing was he was to grab kids' legs under the seats during the Tingler reenactment in puppet form. I don't know. I'd never heard that before for whatever reason, and I love that. It totally fits. And then he just talks about going to movies, going to see 3 to 4 movies a day on speed, going to art house films of Bergman, Fellini, the Italian stuff, going to the drive-in and seeing Blood Feast and Russ Meyer's Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. So Herschel Gordon Lewis and Russ Meyer are big to him. We know this. And also underground films like Kenneth Anger's films and the Kuchar brothers films like Hold Me While I'm Naked. And then, of course, they do talk to the Kuchar brothers. And then there's this great conversation. It's about 30 minutes with Jim Jarmusch just talking to John Waters, a brand new talk. And he opens by talking about how it's the 50th anniversary of Pink Flamingos and it's the 50th anniversary of The Godfather. And just how different those films are, and maybe if they have a couple similarities. And then they read the reviews, and John Waters talks about how they built their campaign on these negative reviews, like one of the most vile, stupid, and repulsive films ever made, Variety. John says he loved Like a Septic Tank Explosion, Needs to Be Seen to Be Believed. That was like the Detroit Free Press or something. Beyond Pornography, that was Judith Christ. And then Pink Flamingos is the sickest movie ever made and one of the funniest, Fran Lebowitz. And they just kind of go on from there. He talks about, showing the film, getting obscenity charges from the cops or from the cities, and that they would pay the $5,000 fine as opposed to getting a lawyer because it was more expensive to get a lawyer, and that he and Bob Shea, the head of New Line at the time, could still be put in jail to this day if the film ever plays like Hicksville, New York again or something, even though he thinks it has played there. He also mentions the film registry thing. He seems very proud of the fact that this film, maybe just shocked and proud that this film got picked for the film registry. And he talks about Andy Warhol for a second, and that Andy Warhol told Fellini to see Female Trouble or something like that. And Jarmusch talks to him about the music, the weird instrumentals that he uses, and how he thinks of Waters as a writer. And they talk about Kitty Flamingos, which is another thing I didn't know about, which is like a kiddie table read version of Pink Flamingos with these kids in costume, where Waters rewrote the script to get all the dirty stuff out. And it's just these kids, they show clips of it, these kids reading dialogue from Pink Flamingos in the sort of costume, half put together costumes of Pink Flamingos. It's pretty delightful stuff. So that's just a great chat between two guys that I could listen to talk for hours. Then there's Locations Baltimore, which is the Pink Flamingos Locations is about 22 minutes, and John Waters is just driving around trying to find where the trailer originally was, because obviously Divine and her family live in this trailer in the middle of the woods, and he talks about like almost like Fitzcarraldo, like he had to drag the trailer up there and he had to get farmers to help, and they talked to the people whose backyard it would have been situated in, and they have like a good little conversation with these older guys. One of them's like an astronomer or something. And then they go to the house where Mink Stole and John Lockery lived, and they talk to the guy there. And John just sort of narrates it. It's just like hanging out with him for 22 minutes as he talks about these locations. I loved it. It was great. Then they have 25th anniversary footage from 1997, which is basically outtakes. It's about 13 minutes of outtakes / deleted scenes that they'll play a clip of, and then John Waters will read sort of a scripted thing that leads into the next scene, and it's fun to see those. And then the next part is the actual outtakes, which is 25 minutes, which is much of that footage without the Waters, in between talking bits. And then there's obviously more of it because there's 25 minutes. So it's a really, really incredible and comprehensive version of this film. And so I was really impressed that, Criterion, it's been a long time coming, but they did a heck of a nice job with it. And it's really, for the format it was shot on and how it should look, it's the best I've ever seen it look. And this is just a wonderful presentation of it. And anyway, so my head hurts, and I'm okay. Don't worry, everything's fine. But I'm going to stop talking about Pink Flamingos now, and I'm going to recommend that you pick it up because, like I said, it's one of the seminal cult films of all time, and I'm a big fan of John Waters' films because of this movie. There's other films I like more. Female Trouble is probably my favorite. That's already available on Criterion, but it's nice to see this seminal cult favorite finally getting a release in a wonderful format from Criterion. So thank you so much for watching and putting up with my ridiculous headgear, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.